Thus quoth the raven, evermore, evermore. Hey there guys, and welcome to this episode of Gearist TV. On today's episode, we're going to talk about the Evermore trail running shoe from Patagonia. Before we go any farther, yes, I know I misquoted Poe. It was a joke. Or at least my attempt at a joke. So, thanks for playing along. Here at Gearist, whenever we talk about something from Patagonia, we generally tend to say that, Patagonia is one of those standard bearer brands. They are kind of the grandfather of outdoor gear, and we tend to give a nod to that every time. However, up until fairly recently, or relatively recently in the grand scheme, they haven't really gotten into the running shoe game. And one of the first shoes that they did that with was the Evermore trail running shoe. It's my opinion that this is indeed a minimalist shoe, as it were, being that the definition of minimalist is kind of a moving target. However, with its minimal features and not kind of out there bells and whistles, it's still very intelligently designed and very functional with the features that it has. First thing we're going to talk about with the Evermore is, as always, the outsole. The Evermore is absolutely a trail shoe through and through. Aside from the fact that it bears the Patagonia brand, it is also something that takes all these features that you might see in a bulkier shoe, kind of trims it down and still makes it very functional on a wide variety of trails. On the outsole, there's a full cover of EverTough, which is a proprietary type of rubber by Patagonia, of EverTough rubber, front to back. As we've talked about recently, a lot of shoes these days are beginning to trim rubber from places where they don't deem it necessary. However, in the case of this shoe, they've still managed to keep it really quite light for a trail shoe while giving you the full foot protection of rubber front to back. For grip, the lugs of the outsole are oriented depending on where you're going to be putting pressure. For instance, the lugs in the front half of the shoe, or front 2/3 almost of the shoe, are oriented back so that if you're climbing, you're going to get that nice bit of grip on an ascent. Whereas the lugs in the heel, as you can see there, the lugs in the heel are oriented for kind of a braking motion, traction on the way down where you're going to need it. The lug pattern on the shoe is actually really great and handles a very wide variety of trails. Now, when you're going to get onto some more technical trails where you're going to need almost a cleat type of running shoe, something with a lot more tread on it, this is probably going to miss the mark a little bit there. But again, that's not necessarily what this is for. This shoe is a very wide-ranging trail shoe, not necessarily for super technical stuff. And I think that's where this really shines, is on trails that's more like a fire road, a well-groomed single track, even some more technical trail that doesn't have as much loose gravel and dirt and things like that, where you're going to need to really grip the ground like that. A little bit of an added bonus to the outsole is that it comes up and forms this nice toe bumper over the first two toes. You can see it right there. What's really great about that is that it really is going to protect those toes and further back up the leather toe cap that we're going to talk about a little more later when we get into the upper. Now let's talk about the midsole. Right in between the outsole and the midsole is their rock plate. It's an EVA rock plate in the shoe. While it could offer a little bit more in the way of pointy rock protection, it does a nice job with cushioning the ground without sacrificing much in the way of ground feel. The midsole itself is built from Patagonia's Everlight, noticing a pattern here, EVA foam. That EVA foam is a little more firm than a lot of people might like. Now, in the case of a lot of people, they really like a really cushy foam. Now the problem with that is that when you do it, it hinders your foot's function. It doesn't allow your foot to truly function as it wants to. Now in this shoe, again, this is very firm, but that's deliberate, and it really keeps you nicely in touch with the ground, and all the features surrounding the shoe go to that end as well. Internally, the sock liner of the Evermore, which you can see right there, is completely integrated into the shoe, which means that it's not removable. Now, while some people might like to remove the sock liner, I for one am somebody who likes to remove a sock liner from time to time, in this shoe it's not really necessary. Again, they're not dampening the feel that would be the reason to remove a sock liner. This thing feels really great, has a nice firm and really sensitive ground feel, and that's a really great feature, and doesn't really matter that the sock liner is not removable. There's a tiny bit of arch support, as it were, a little bump in the arch, which I am not a fan of. Some people really do want it, and I've heard of some people that really think that it's pretty prominent in this shoe. For me, that wasn't really the case. I didn't really notice any discomfort at all, even on runs as far as 8 miles and up. Staying true to its minimal or natural running roots, this shoe has a 4mm offset. That means the drop from here to here is 4mm in height difference. A really nice drop. It's under that 6mm threshold that I really like to see most of the time. As always, we give the shoe the "Can I fold this shoe in half" test. There's your result. Let's get into the upper of the Evermore. If you're looking for a lot of loud colors, super futuristic designs, and bells and whistles, you're not going to find it on this shoe. This is really, really simple, as you can see. However, it's also really, really well thought out, and it doesn't have a need for all those designs. As for the colors, as with most things Patagonia, they're really meant to be part of nature, so they're not going to super jump out at you like that. The mesh on the upper of the Evermore is really, really supple with a microfiber overlay. This keeps it nice and flexible while still giving it the amount of durability and protection that you're going to want to see in a trail shoe. The mesh is also very, very breathable. Rather than opting for drains in the bottom of the shoe, as some things do for water crossings and the like, the drains in this shoe are really, really, again, well thought out. As you can see, they're going to be right about here, here, and here. And on the lateral side, right here and right here. Now, the reason for this is that the water, if you're going to have an excess amount of water in your shoe, it's going to drain there. A lot of people think that a drain on the bottom of the shoe is super necessary. It's not really. In the case of deep water crossings and where you're actually standing in water over your ankles, let's say, sure, those drains are going to be put to use and the water is going to drain out pretty quickly through those holes. However, for most crossings, it's not really necessary, and to be honest, surface tension of water cannot make it through most drain holes in shoes. So it's not really necessary. Patagonia knows that, and they also know that having a breathable upper and breathable mesh around where the midsole meets the upper is the most important part to having good drainage and foot comfort while in the shoe. There is no heel counter to speak of in this shoe. There's a little bit of leather that comes up here on the back that does take care of some structure and gives the shoe some shape and a nice heel cup in there. But in general, there's not really a heel counter. It's very flexible, and I really like that. It lets the shoe really sink into the foot, not sink in, but really fit to the foot, but also allows flexibility for some wider feet in the rear of the foot. As I mentioned earlier, there's that toe bumper at the front of the upper, right up here, which you can see again is fronted by this place where the outsole comes up and forms a really rigid toe bumper. This gives plenty of protection, and keep in mind, this part of the bumper from the outsole is, if you're going to kick something, that's most likely where it's going to happen. The laces are lay flat laces. You can see maybe right there, they're completely flat. They're not round, they're not sausage link type laces. These are nice, they lay down well. They do catch burrs and things, so if you're going through deep brush, you may get burrs on them, but I can't really think of a lace where that's not the case, except for something like a BOA lacing system or something like that. The last thing we're going to say about the upper is that the toe box wins. Look at this toe box. That is fantastic. They did a really great job creating plenty of room, both vertically, laterally, medially. The toe box in this shoe has a lot of room, and it's really, really wonderful. Now, if you're looking for something to really hug your foot, not it. You should be looking at something that's more racing flattish. But this thing has a fantastic toe box, so really, really nice job with that. Let's talk about the fit. As I mentioned a moment ago, there's tons of room in the toe box of this shoe. Now, if you're not used to that feeling, I can see some people probably going, oh, well, this shoe runs a little bit large. It does not. The sizing is right on, in my opinion. It fit my very average size 11 foot exactly how I would want it to. So keep in mind that when you put the shoe on, if you're not used to a wide open toe box like that, if you feel like it's a little bit large, don't pay attention to what's going on this way. Pay attention to how your toes fall relative to the end of the shoe. And I think that if you do that, you'll find that it's just in fact a large toe box, which is exceptional in what you really want to have in a shoe. It's not necessarily that the shoe runs too large. As I also mentioned, through the midfoot, it's really a ton of room to be able to cinch down the laces or have plenty of lace length to account for a wider foot. The heel cup is nice, really locks the foot in, but also lets it free up by virtue of the fact that there's no rigid heel cup if you have a wider heel. Again, as some people have mentioned, they may think that the bump, the slight bump right through the arch, is a little bit more than they're comfortable with, but in my case, again, I was not uncomfortable even after runs of up to and beyond 8 miles within this shoe. All the miles that I've run in this, which has been about 80 at this point, it's got a really great ride. I really love that firmer midsole than a lot of shoes, and I strongly encourage you, if you're used to a soft midsole, to give this a chance, and not just one run, but a few runs. Give it a chance to really see what your foot feels in this shoe and how it adapts. Because at the end of the day, what it's doing is allowing your foot to work the way your foot was meant to work. So it takes a little bit of time to adapt to that, but I think that in the long run, you'll really enjoy it. As I mentioned earlier, this shoe is fantastic for a wide variety of trails. Again, if you're not going up something that's super gravelly or with loose dirt, this is going to be good. If you do need something like that with more of a cleat, a deeper lug, this is probably not going to be the shoe for you, being these only sit out about 3 or 4 millimeters. But in general, a really versatile trail shoe. At 7.8 ounces for a men's size 9, this shoe is really a legitimate light trail shoe. Also, at $110, it falls within most runners' budgets, especially for something that's going to get you plenty of miles. As I mentioned earlier, rather than going with a lot of bells and whistles in the shoe, Patagonia has decided to use minimal features to maximal design impact. What that means is that all the things that they put on the shoe are really well thought out. They all contribute to the shoe without being over-contributing, without being unnecessary to the shoe, and I really appreciate that. Good materials and solid Patagonia construction are really going to make you want to put this shoe on a lot of trails. You know that when Patagonia enters any market, they do so in a well thought out and well designed manner. It's no different with running shoes. This is a great entry shoe for me. I really enjoyed it, and I can't wait to check out some more of their shoes coming up in the next few years. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Gearist TV. Please click on over to Gearist.com, take a look around and look at all of our other reviews. If you've got any questions or comments, please leave them in the comments section below. And while you're at it, please subscribe to this channel, like our video. You're going to see a beautiful blue subscribe button right about here in just a couple seconds. I would really love it if you would subscribe to our channel. We do giveaways, and that's a really great way to find out about those giveaways, and quite honestly, you can't be entered unless you're subscribed. So please click on over, subscribe to our channel. Let us know what you think. Again, questions and comments in the comment section below. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode, and we'll see you next time. Thank you all so much for watching this episode of Gearist TV. If you've got any questions or comments, as we just said a couple times, please leave it in the comment section below. Also, please do us a wonderful New Year's favor and click that beautiful blue subscribe button right there. Thanks so much, guys, and we'll talk to you next time.